Okay, I'm joined by Nathan Fletcher today, who is fighting at Cage Warriors 160 on the 29th of September against Thomas Bryan in Manchester, of course. Nathan, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing very well, mate. Thank you very much. Nice one for having me on, taking your time to interview me and promote this fight. I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good, man. Of course, thanks for taking the time out as well. I know you're a busy man with training just a month out. How is everything going a month out in relation to the fight? And how is this next month going to look for you?
Yeah, well, I'm actually ahead of schedule to be honest. I'm in fighting shape now. I've been preparing for the fight pretty much since my last one. So I fought in April, and then off the back of that, I wasn't sure what was going to happen. There was potential talks of maybe contender series, maybe a UFC call up, maybe a title shot. So there was all exciting things on the horizon. So I've been in the gym pretty much since my last fight. I had a week's break after that, and then obviously I've had the odd, down week here and there just so I don't burn myself out. But pretty much from for the last 5 6 months, I've been preparing for a fight. So my weight's nice and low. I'm fitter than ever. I'm sharper than ever, and I feel great a month out. I can't wait for fight night now.
Yeah, you talk about being in preparation since that last fight. Because obviously last year was a tough one for you, wasn't it? You had a lot of time out, just managed to get that fight in right at New Year's Eve. But so how
I'm not
important
kidding.
was it? Yeah. So how important was it for you to like get a quick turnaround after that, get the win the way it was, and then push forward?
Yeah, it was nice. Obviously, I had 15 months out of the cage, and where I'm so young, I feel like I'm coming into my prime years of my career. So I don't want to waste any time. I feel like I'm firing on all cylinders at the minute. So an ideal year for me is 3 or 4 outings. You know what I mean? So to fight on New Year's Eve, just about scraping a fight on the in 2022, and then I turned around nice and quick in April, and then even this one was probably slightly longer than I imagined having out before the next one, but I'll take it. September. It leaves me with enough time to squeeze one more in before the end of the year. I feel, which will be four in a 12-month period, which I'll be very happy with.
Yeah. Especially like you said, after the 15 months you had. Thomas Bryan, the opponent this time out, is one of a few guys Cage Warriors has been bringing in from Brazil. How much have you been able to find on him? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so initially I couldn't find much when I first researched him, but we've got a guy in the gym called Carl Manfield, and he breaks down all of our opponents for the fight team, and gets all fight footage of them and breaks down specific tendencies that they have, so we can sort of try and work off that in our training camps. And he's found. I said to him, "Oh, good luck trying to find anything on this guy," and he come back like an hour later with like 4 fights. Do you know what I mean? That he found all on Facebook and stuff and on people's YouTube channels. So. I've actually seen quite a good bit of him now. I've got a good few fights to study. Um, yeah, and been breaking him down. So I'm very excited to get in there with him.
And so, what are your thoughts on him from that start, from that footage that you've been able to see? Obviously, I haven't done the same research as you have, obviously, but just looking at his record, he seems quite a well-rounded guy. Do you see that?
Yeah, so he's on a 5 fight win streak. He hasn't lost since his pro debut. So he's going to be riding a bit of momentum, a little bit of confidence. The difference is he's not been fighting like the same level of guys that I've been
Right.
fighting. Like I've been on Cage Warriors since the start of my career. It looks like a couple of the shows he's been on has maybe been like his gym show and other local shows in Brazil where he's from. So the caliber of opponents is nowhere near the caliber of opponents that I've faced. And I think that's going to
Yeah.
be be the deciding factor in this one is that I just feel I'm at a much higher level than he is in terms of MMA. So he's good. He's well rounded, like you say. He's a brown belt, and he's from shooter box. He's going to have good kickboxing. Um, but yeah, I just think I'm a better fighter than him in all areas, and I'm confident that wherever this fight takes place, I'll be dominating.
And obviously, it's an interesting time for the bantamweight division at the minute as well. Kalen Loughran's got his UFC debut coming up this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
You've been around Cage Warriors for a while. You fought for that belt before. Presumably you're one of the guys that would be in the mix for a Vacant title fight. So just how do you kind of see that landscape playing out in the next few months in that division?
Yeah, so I think that obviously the other sort of contender for the belt would be Reece McEwen,
Yeah.
and I know he's booked for the November card. Um, Personally, I wanted to fight before November. Like I said, I've sat out 15 months before 2023, so I wasn't willing to wait and fight him on that date. So I was happy that Cage Warriors got me a fight for Manchester. I've got a solid opponent with a winning record. And we'll see. I'm obviously not looking past that. I've got to take out a tough Brazilian in Thomas Bryan on the 29th of September. But all goes well, I think, yeah, that I'll be next in line for the shot at the belt. And I feel it'd be nice. It'd be 2 years after I attempted it first to be able to get that redemption and if I need it, win the Cage Warriors title and go on to the UFC. But I wouldn't be surprised if I got a call up potentially after what I'm going to do to my next opponent. So we'll see what happens. But it's all good things on the horizon for me.
Yeah, you mentioned obviously Cage Warriors is always a good place to be at if you're trying to get to the UFC, but there's a lot of guys as of late, right? Obviously, we've got Reese McKee's gone, Kaelan Lachlan, like we talked about, Open Elliott just off Contender Series. There's a lot of
My
guys
boy.
at the minute getting that call, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. Charrier's just been signed as well. Obviously, he's a
Yes,
bit of
yeah.
a superstar on the French scene, so there's no surprise there that he got the call up for UFC Paris. So yeah, Cage Warriors has always been the proving ground for European talent. So I mean, they've sent over 100 fighters to the UFC, and I've got a very good relationship with Cage Warriors. I've had my whole pro career with them, so I think that the guys in the industry that know, the matchmakers and stuff with the UFC, they see the level of competition I'm facing, and the fact that 7 out of my 8 wins have been stoppages. I think I'm presenting a pretty good resume for myself. Do you know what I mean? So I'm very confident that if I stay with Cage Warriors, keep doing what I'm doing, the call up for me won't be too far away.
Yeah, obviously you mentioned Contender Series earlier, so I want to touch on that. How close was that to happening?
Well, there was just mention of it that potentially I could end up going that route, but nothing materialised
Okay,
from that. But that would be as an option. You're seeing guys getting now Open. Obviously, Open just got signed off it the other day.
yeah,
It's a good route to the UFC. I feel like it builds you a bit of a platform before you even get to the UFC because there's a lot of eyes on that. Tuesday night fights. It gets a lot of views and stuff, so you can kind of build yourself into a bit of a star already just by having a good performance on that. So I do like that idea of that route into the UFC. But with the way things are going to work out, this season's probably going to be done, and then I'll
yeah.
have thought. I feel like I get signed just by getting signed before next summer. You know what I mean? In my opinion, in my timeline, that's how I see it. I see myself being in the UFC before next summer. So probably not going to go the Contender Series route now, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, obviously Cage Warriors, we talk about a lot of guys leaving the organization. We've got Reese, you got Oban. It's kind of a rebuilding phase for the company. A lot of guys being signed to Cage Warriors as well that are coming in
Mm-hmm.
looking to prove themselves. Kind of what do you make of the state of the company as, one of the more established guys at this point?
Yeah, I think it's thriving at the minute, to be honest. You see the amount of shows that they're putting on, the amount of shows they've got lined up, and it's exciting times because it's not just the UK anymore, really. They're expanding out. They've got the
Yeah,
American shows doing 3 or 4 times a year. They've going into Italy quite a lot. That
Italy.
seems to be quite
Yeah.
for them. I heard rumours that they were going to do a France card this year, but I've not seen anything since on that. But I feel like they've got the toes are dipped into a few different markets, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, around. So it's exciting. I probably personally don't see myself having too many more fights with Cage Warriors, maybe 1 or 2 more. But it would have been nice to go to some of these other European shows, fighting Italy, fighting France if they were doing a show there, maybe fight on a USA card potentially. But yeah, like I say, I feel like I'm probably going to be off before my opportunity for that comes.
Yeah, you mentioned that. You actually mentioned being with Cage Warriors for a while, and then you have this pathway for yourself. But Dan
Mm-hmm.
Hardy, when we spoke to him several months ago, obviously he's with PFL Europe, doing lead heading things up there. He mentioned you specifically by name as someone he thinks could thrive in that format. Obviously, you're contracted to Cage Warriors. You've talked about the timeline you want, but how do you react when you hear something like that?
Yeah, obviously it puts a smile on my face hearing Dan Hardy say anything positive about me because he's a legend of the sport and someone that I've looked up to since getting into MMA. So it's nice. Dan's sound as well. I've met him a couple of times now.
Yeah,
His partner, is it Veronica or Victoria? I think she
Veronica.
trained.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, she trains at the Athlete Factory for S&C with Paul Reed, who's my strength conditioning coach. So we've crossed paths a couple of times in the Athlete Factory when they've been down there and had a little chat with him. So he's a sound guy, Dan, and it's nice to hear off a legend of the sport. It shows that I'm doing something right. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. So we're not going to take up too much of your time. Just finally, as we get towards the end here, give us the hard sell. What can people expect when they see yourself and Thomas Bryan in the cage, September 29th?
They can see me getting another finish, potentially first round. I'll weigh it up on the night and decide how I'm going to finish him, and obviously
Yeah.
he brings, process it all and break him down systematically. But I know I'm 10 times the fighter he is, and I'm very confident that I'm going to go in and get another finish in standard Nathan Fletcher fashion. What I've done in my last previous fights, you know what I mean? I'll be going in there and either taking his neck or knocking him out in this one. Maybe we'll see. I keep saying that the knockout is coming. My strike is moving so much. I just don't get opportunities to show it in these fights because the minute the grappling exchanges happen, I tend to be very dominant in those areas and then get the fight finished via submission. But potentially a knockout in this one. That's what I would like, but we'll see. If the neck presents itself, I'll take it as well and get a active rear naked.
Yeah, like you said, it's going to be exciting. I don't know anyone that's seen a Nathan Fletcher fight that doesn't enjoy Nathan Fletcher fights. So hopefully more where that came from, right? And obviously we're going to be in Manchester, close to home.
Yes, I like the Manchester cards. Obviously, it would be better if they did a Liverpool show for Next Gen, but the Manchester cards have kind of become like our hometown show. You've seen how many Next Gen lads are fighting on this one. I think we've got 7 or 8 guys, so it's basically going to be a Next Gen takeover. And I'm from Southport, so Manchester's it's about an hour away down the motorway. So a good following, good few supporters coming down to watch me. So it feels like a hometown show as well.
Yeah, everyone knows like the politics of getting into the arena in Liverpool. We don't need to get into that. Manchester, a lot of you guys like yourself, Luke Riley, getting on these cards. How's everything down next gen at the minute? How are the guys? How Paddy? How Molly?
Yeah, brilliant. Everyone, the gym's thriving again. We've all obviously a lot of us are on this Manchester card, so a lot of us are preparing for that. Paddy will hopefully be returning by the end of the year. There's nothing set in stone yet, but back training now, so he's near enough fully recovered from his injury. And I think we'll expect to see him hopefully back in the cage towards the end of the year. Molly's just gone out to Thailand. I saw a picture of her with Chef actually on her Instagram. So she's out there at Tiger Muay Thai and Bangtown stuff. And the whole gym's thriving. So it's good times, but it's always good times in Next Gym. Do you know what I mean? It has been for the last 10 years. So it's not only now. We've always had a good vibe in that gym, and we're always leveling up and improving our game. So big things coming for the gym.
Yeah, and of course, hoping more big things coming on September 29th for you, especially. Just finally, shout out any sponsors you've got and where people can keep up with you and lead up to this fight.
Yeah, definitely. So my main 3 sponsors are Jack Harper, who is a local businessman from Southport, who's been looking after me for the last few years. I've got Finer Filters, which is another company, my first ever sponsors, and they've been with me since I think maybe my 2nd or 3rd amateur fight. And then Just Wings, another company from Southport. Gareth is the lad who got in touch with me there, and they've been sponsoring me for the last year. So very grateful for those 3 my main sponsors. And then we'll see. I feel like I get a good few companies sponsoring me for every fight. Do you know what I mean? So I won't shout out 2 names now because there's probably a list of them, but they're my main 3, and everyone else who supported me over the years. I'm very grateful. You allow me to do what I love full time, and even at this regional level, I'm still a full time athlete. So I couldn't do it without them. And obviously to everyone who's going to come and watch and buy a ticket, I appreciate it. Hopefully get a good few people down to this one with it being in Manchester. And everyone's support means a lot to me. So it's nice getting there and having the roar of the crowd when you've got hundreds of people there coming to watch you. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, anyone who can't get down, of course, is on UFC Fight Pass as well. Very easy to watch. Cage Warriors 160, September 29th. Taking on Thomas Bryan. Looking forward to it, man.
Can't wait, mate. It's going to be a good show. Get down or choose Fight Pass, like you said.
Cool. Thanks for taking the time, man.
No worries, brother. Thank you very much. Nice to speak to you.
Yeah, and you, man.